Brendan Trent, Earth's chosen diplomat, was an unassuming man by galactic standards. Average in height and modestly dressed in a tailored Navy suit, he exuded a calm resolve. His steady gaze swept across the room, meeting the eyes, or their equivalents, of beings who regarded humanity with curiosity, indifference, or disdain. "Esteemed council members," Brendan began, his voice carrying a practiced cadence that belied the tension in his chest. "Humanity has no desire for conquest, nor do we seek alliances that would entangle us in interstellar rivalries. We ask only for neutrality, a chance to find our place in the galaxy without interference." A murmur rippled through the chamber, but one voice rose above the rest. Neutrality, the deep, guttural tone belonged to King Zyrol, ruler of the Velithar Dominion. Standing over 8 feet tall, his armored form bristled with spiked adornments that glinted ominously under the chamber's artificial light. His crimson eyes fixed on Brendan, a predatory smirk curling his lipless mouth. What arrogance! What naivety! You believe the galaxy will simply leave you alone because you ask nicely? Zyrol's words sparked an uneasy silence. The Velithar Dominion was one of the most powerful empires represented in the Council, known for its aggressive expansion and disdain for perceived weakness. Brendan, unflinching, met the alien monarch's gaze. "What we believe," he said evenly, "is that a species underestimated is a species underestimated at one's peril. Humanity seeks peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." A soft, melodic laugh came from the left of Zyrol. Thurix, an elder of the Khazari collective, regarded the scene with a knowing expression. The amphibious alien skin shimmered with hues of blue and green, and his voice carried the weight of centuries. "Wise words," Thurix said, directing his gaze to Zyrol. "You would do well to heed them, King Zyrol. Humanity may lack the technology of the Dominion, but their resourcefulness is unmatched. History is full of tales of those who underestimated a determined foe and paid dearly for it." Zyrol's smirk faltered, but only for a moment. "Old legends and scare tactics," he scoffed, leaning forward with a menacing tilt to his towering frame. "Your kind may cower behind caution, but I see no reason to waste time on such frivolities. Let the humans remain neutral if they wish. But when they inevitably stumble into my path, I will show them the cost of defiance." The chamber buzzed with alarmed whispers, but Brendan pressed on, his voice unwavering. "Your Majesty, this is not a threat. It is a plea for understanding. Humanity's history is one of survival. We are adaptable, inventive, and relentless when cornered. If you force our hand, we will respond in ways you cannot predict." Zyrol laughed, a deep, resonant sound that echoed through the chamber. "Predict? Humans are an open book, short-lived, impulsive, and prone to infighting. Your threats amuse me, Brendan Trent." Before Brendan could respond, the council's chime rang out, signaling the start of the deliberations. The Speaker of the Council, a stately figure of the crystalline viner species, rose to her full height. "Order. The motion before the Council is to recognize humanity's neutrality. Let us vote." The delegates cast their votes in silence, the holographic tally projected above the chamber. As the results finalized, the Speaker declared, "The Council recognizes Earth's neutrality with a majority vote. However, this recognition is advisory, not binding. King Zyrol, the Council strongly encourages you to respect this decision." Zyrol stood abruptly, his movement causing a collective flinch among nearby delegates. "Encourage all you like," he growled. "The Dominion acts as it sees fit." Without another word, he turned and stormed out of the chamber, his armored boots striking the floor like thunder. Brendan exhaled quietly, a mix of relief and unease settling in his chest. The warning had been delivered, but Zyrol's departure carried the weight of unspoken intent. Humanity's neutrality was far from secure. Back on Earth, a storm brewed, not in the skies, but in the halls of power. In the high-security command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Adrian Jones reviewed the latest intelligence reports. A seasoned soldier with sharp features and a commanding presence, Jones was no stranger to impossible odds. His piercing blue eyes scanned the holographic display, which detailed the strength and positioning of Velithar fleets. A junior officer entered, saluting briskly. "Sir, Diplomat Trent's report from the Council just came in." Jones nodded, gesturing for the transmission to be displayed. As Brendan's calm voice recounted the Council session, Jones's jaw tightened. "King Zyrol," he muttered, his voice tinged with disdain. "The galaxy's resident bully. He won't let this go." "Agreed, sir," the officer replied. "What are your orders?" Jones leaned back, his mind already working through contingencies. "If Zyrol moves against us, we won't just survive. We'll show him why humanity is more than the sum of its parts. Begin preparations for a Black Ops contingency plan. If the Velithar Dominion wants war, they'll get one they'll never forget." As the stars continued their silent dance above the Galactic Council, a sense of foreboding settled over those who remained. Brendan Trent's words echoed in the minds of many, a warning that seemed to carry the weight of inevitability. And in the shadows of the galaxy, King Zyrol began to plan his next move, his arrogance blinding him to the storm humanity was preparing to unleash. The first strike came at dawn. Velithar warships, vast and angular like predatory birds, descended through Earth's atmosphere with ominous precision. Their hulls gleamed black against the pale morning light, bristling with weapons that crackled with unfamiliar energy. Cities across the globe were thrown into chaos as the alien fleet deployed waves of ground troops, towering, armored creatures with ruthless efficiency in their movements. The Dominion's invasion had begun. In the heart of New York City, Commander Adrian Jones stood at the forefront of the resistance. His combat armor, a cutting-edge blend of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien tech, bore the scars of prior battles. A squad of elite soldiers flanked him, each grim-faced and ready for the impossible task ahead. "Report," Jones barked, his voice cutting through the static of his comms. "Velithar forces are establishing forward bases across the city," replied Sergeant Victor Hale, a seasoned sniper whose sharp eyes missed nothing. "Their drones are scanning for resistance groups, but our jammers are holding for now." Jones surveyed the battlefield from their elevated position atop a half-destroyed skyscraper. Smoke rose from the streets below, mingling with the sound of distant explosions and the panicked cries of civilians. He clenched his fists. Zyrol hadn't just launched an assault. He was making a statement. "Then we make them regret setting foot here," Jones growled. He turned to his team, his voice steady and resolute. "We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting to remind them that Earth is no easy target. Move out." The initial resistance was fierce but costly. Velithar troops wielded plasma weaponry that tore through concrete and steel as easily as flesh. Yet for all their technological superiority, they were unprepared for the ingenuity and tenacity of human defenders. In one sector, Hale led a strike team into an abandoned subway system. Using makeshift explosives and EMP devices, they ambushed a Velithar patrol, disabling their armor and weapons before striking with brutal efficiency. The aliens fell quickly, their advantage neutralized by human adaptability. "Think they'll write about this in their history books," Hale quipped as the last enemy collapsed. "Not if they're too dead to write," muttered another soldier, reloading his weapon. Despite these small victories, the tide of the invasion threatened to overwhelm humanity. Velithar commanders targeted critical infrastructure with chilling precision, plunging entire regions into darkness and chaos. The scale of their assault stretched Earth's defenses to the breaking point. At a hidden command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Jones reviewed the grim situation. Holographic displays projected casualty reports and tactical maps, each more troubling than the last. "How long before they take full control of the planet?" Jones asked, his voice low. Major Tom Cross, his trusted second-in-command, grimaced. "At this rate? 2 weeks, maybe less. We're bleeding them. but they've got the numbers and the tech. It's a matter of time. Jones's jaw tightened. Time was a luxury they didn't have. He knew conventional tactics wouldn't win this war. Humanity needed to do what it did best: fight dirty. Operation Silent Strike, Jones said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Cross hesitated. Are you sure, sir? It's risky, and we'd be sending a team straight into the lion's den. We don't have a choice, Jones replied. Zyrol is the linchpin of their war machine. Take him out, and the Dominion falters. If we wait, we're signing Earth's death warrant. Cross nodded grimly. I'll brief the team. The decision set into motion a plan years in the making. Codenamed Ghost Squad. The mission called for a small, elite team to infiltrate Zyrol's stronghold on Valera Prime. The goal: capture or eliminate the Velethar King. It was a gamble, but one that could turn the tide of the war. Jones handpicked his team. Seasoned soldiers with expertise in infiltration, sabotage, and unconventional warfare. Hale was the first to volunteer, his sniper skills and quick wit invaluable. Lieutenant Garfield Cole, a demolitions expert with a penchant for controlled chaos, followed suit. Others joined, each bringing a unique skill set to the table. Meanwhile, Zyrol watched the chaos on Earth with detached satisfaction. From his throne room on Valera Prime, he observed the invasion through a series of holographic feeds. His advisors stood at attention, awaiting his command. Resistance is to be expected, Zyrol said, his voice dripping with condescension. Let the humans believe they are delaying the inevitable. It will make their fall all the sweeter. One of his generals, Arvex, stepped forward. Majesty, their tactics are unconventional but effective. Perhaps we should. Enough, Zyrol snapped, his crimson eyes narrowing. I will not entertain cowardice. Humanity's defiance is a fleeting annoyance, nothing more. Focus on consolidating our control. Yes, Majesty, Arvex replied, though unease lingered in his posture. As Ghost Squad prepared for their mission, the Velethar forces on Earth ramped up their assault. Major cross-coordinated defense efforts, buying time for the infiltration team. In one particularly desperate skirmish, human forces lured a Velethar battalion into an industrial complex rigged with traps. The resulting explosions leveled the entire facility, taking hundreds of aliens with it. Jones monitored these developments from the Ghost Squad staging area. The weight of his decisions bore down on him, but he didn't falter. He couldn't afford to. The squad's departure was shrouded in secrecy. A stealth vessel, equipped with the latest cloaking technology, ferried them into Velethar space. As they approached Valera Prime, Jones addressed his team. This mission isn't just about survival, he said, his voice firm. It's about sending a message. The Velethar think they can break us, that we're weak. Let's prove them wrong. The squad nodded, determination etched into their faces. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew what was at stake. Back on Earth, the Resistance continued to fight tooth and nail. For every city the Velethar occupied, human forces struck back twice as hard, forcing the invaders to stretch their resources thin. The cost was high, but the sacrifices bought Ghost Squad the time they needed to reach their target. As the squad entered Valera Prime's orbit, Jones stared out the viewport at the alien world below, a fortress planet, its surface a tapestry of imposing citadels and endless weapon emplacements. Touchdown in 5 minutes, the pilot announced. Jones glanced at Hale and the rest of the squad. This is it. From here on out, failure isn't an option. The team readied their weapons. The hum of the ship's engines a prelude to the chaos that awaited them. The invasion had tested humanity's resolve. Now, it was time to strike back. Valera Prime loomed like a shadowed jewel in the void, its surface a jagged landscape of alien architecture and war machines. At its heart stood Zyrol's Citadel, an obsidian fortress that clawed at the sky. Ghost Squad stealth craft glided silently toward the planet under the cover of cloaking technology, bypassing orbital defenses designed to detect anything but perfection. Inside the cramped cabin, Commander Adrian Jones reviewed their mission briefing one last time. The tension was palpable, but his voice remained calm as he addressed his team. "Ghost Squad," Jones began, his piercing gaze scanning the group. "This is the heart of the Velethar Dominion. Zyrol thinks his castle is impenetrable, that he's untouchable. Tonight, we prove him wrong. Our objective is simple: capture or kill Zyrol. No deviations, no hesitation." "Understood." The team nodded, each man silently steeling himself. Lieutenant Garfield Cole, the demolitions expert, broke the silence. "Simple, huh? Just stroll into the most fortified place in the galaxy, grab a king, and walk out. Piece of cake." Sergeant Victor Hale smirked as he checked his sniper rifle. "That's why they send the best, Cole. Stick with me, and maybe you'll live long enough to blow something up." Jones allowed himself a brief smile. "Focus, gentlemen. We're on the clock." The insertion went smoothly, too smoothly for Jones's liking. The stealth ship touched down in a ravine hidden by jagged rock formations, just 2 kilometers from the Citadel. As the team disembarked, the icy winds of Valera Prime bit through their armor. The Citadel loomed ahead, a monolithic structure bathed in the faint glow of alien floodlights. "Move out," Jones ordered, signaling for radio silence. The squad advanced in formation, their movements swift and silent. Jones led the way, his keen eyes scanning for threats. Hale followed close behind, his sniper rifle sweeping for targets in the shadows. Cole brought up the rear, carrying an assortment of explosives and tools. They reached the outer perimeter, a towering wall lined with patrols and automated turrets. Hale crouched, peering through a scope. 2 guards on the north tower, another 3 patrolling the wall, he whispered. "Turrets are cycling every 6 seconds. Cole, get us an opening," Jones said. The demolitions expert set to work, planting a small EMP charge near the turret's base. A muffled whump followed, and the turret powered down, leaving a blind spot in the defense. "Go," Jones commanded. The squad scaled the wall using grappling hooks, moving like shadows. Once over the top, they dropped silently into the courtyard below. The air smelled of metal and ozone, and the distant hum of machinery echoed through the vast space. Jones held up a fist, signaling the squad to halt. Ahead, a patrol of Velethar soldiers marched in tight formation, their glowing visors cutting through the dim light. "Wait for it," Jones murmured, his hand hovering over his weapon. The patrol passed without incident, their heavy footfalls fading into the distance. Jones motioned for the squad to move. Inside the Citadel, the team faced their first real obstacle, a labyrinth of corridors, each more heavily guarded than the last. Jones consulted his wrist-mounted holomap, which flickered with static as it struggled to penetrate the Citadel's interference. "Which way?" Cole whispered, his voice tense. Jones studied the map, then pointed left. "This way." The throne room is 3 levels up. The squad moved cautiously, avoiding detection through a combination of stealth and quick thinking. At one point, a sentry nearly spotted them, but Hale neutralized the alien with a silence round before it could raise an alarm. "Nice shot," Cole muttered. "Don't get used to it," Hale replied. As they ascended to the next level, the Citadel's defenses became more sophisticated. Automated drones patrolled the hallways, their sensors scanning for intruders. Cole rigged a decoy device, sending one drone spiraling into a wall while the team slipped past. "Every step forward feels like 2 back," Hale muttered. "That's because we're still breathing," Jones replied. After nearly an hour of careful progress, they reached the antechamber to the throne room. A pair of massive Velethar guards stood watch, their imposing forms clad in shimmering battle armor. Hale crouched, readying his rifle. 2 shots, 2 kills. "Give me the signal." "Hold," Jones said, narrowing his eyes. "Their armor's too thick for a clean kill. We'll have to get creative." He motioned for Cole, who grinned and pulled out a small, sticky explosive charge. "My turn," Cole said, creeping forward. The demolitions expert slipped a charge onto the back of one guard's armor, then retreated. A muffled pop later, the guard stumbled forward disoriented. Before the second guard could react, Jones was on him, plunging a combat knife into a gap in the alien's armor. Both guards fell without raising an alarm. Messy but effective, Hale said. Jones didn't respond. His focus was on the massive doors ahead, which pulsed with an eerie red light. Throne room, Jones said. Weapons ready. This is it. Inside, the throne room was as grand as it was foreboding. High ceilings arched overhead, adorned with alien glyphs that glowed faintly. At the far end, atop a raised platform, sat King Zyrol. The Velethar monarch rose as the squad entered, his crimson eyes narrowing. So, the insects have found their way into the web, Zyrol said, his voice dripping with disdain. I must admit, I didn't expect you to get this far. We're full of surprises, Jones replied, his weapon trained on the alien king. Zyrol chuckled, the sound deep and resonant. Do you really think you can take me? Here, in the heart of my dominion. We don't think, Jones said. We act. With that, the squad sprang into action. Hale fired a precision shot, striking Zyrol's throne and triggering a defensive shield. Cole hurled an explosive, creating a smokescreen that obscured their movements. Jones surged forward, dodging a strike from Zyrol's energy blade. The two clashed in a brutal melee, the king's superior strength matched by Jones's speed and cunning. Finally, with a well-timed feint, Jones drove his blade into Zyrol's side, the neural disruptor embedded in the weapon sending a jolt through the alien system. Zyrol collapsed to one knee, his eyes blazing with fury. This is not over, he snarled. Jones loomed over him, his voice cold. It is for now. The squad secured Zyrol, binding him with restraints designed to neutralize his formidable strength. The alarms began to blare as the Citadel's defenses reacted to the intrusion. Time to go, Hale said, his voice tense. Jones nodded. Move out. The hard part's done. As they retreated through the smoke and chaos, Jones couldn't help but glance back at the defeated king. The mission wasn't over, but they had struck a blow the Dominion would never forget, and humanity's fight was far from finished. The extraction was chaos. Alarms blared across Zyrol's citadel, drowning the corridors in crimson light. Automated turrets sprang to life, swiveling with deadly intent, while drones swarmed from hidden alcoves like mechanical hornets. Ghost Squad moved with precision honed by years of combat, covering one another as they retreated to their extraction point. Cole, give us some breathing room, Jones shouted, firing at a squad of Velethar soldiers rounding the corner. On it, Cole slapped an adhesive explosive onto the wall and detonated it, sending debris and aliens flying. That'll slow 'em down. Sergeant Hale took a position near the rear, picking off drones with surgical accuracy. Jones, extraction points up ahead. If we don't move now, we're toast. With Zyrol slung across his back, unconscious but securely bound, Jones gritted his teeth. We're not leaving anyone behind. Move! The team pushed forward, every step contested by the Citadel's relentless defenses. They reached the extraction point, a wide platform where their cloaked ship hovered just meters above the surface. The boarding ramp lowered, and Major Cross's voice crackled over the comms. Get on. You've got 2 minutes before this entire sector locks down. One by one, the squad scrambled aboard. Hale was the last to leap onto the ramp, firing a final shot at an approaching Velethar trooper before the ship's hatch sealed shut. Go! Jones barked, slamming his fist on the wall. The pilot didn't hesitate, propelling the ship into the atmosphere at breakneck speed. Behind them, the Citadel receded into a speck, its defenses futile against the cloaked craft's escape velocity. The Velethar Dominion erupted in chaos. News of Zyrol's capture spread like wildfire, sparking confusion and fear among his forces. The king's throne room had been his symbol of invulnerability, and its breach shattered the illusion of his supremacy. Velithar commanders scrambled to maintain control, but without Zyral's unifying presence, their chain of command began to fracture. On Earth, the Resistance seized the opportunity. Jones transmitted a coded message to Allied forces worldwide. Zyral is ours. Fight with everything you've got. This is our moment. Major Cross coordinated the largest counteroffensive humanity had ever launched. Across the globe, Resistance fighters emerged from hidden bunkers, striking Velithar's strongholds with precision and fury. Cities once shrouded in despair became battlegrounds of defiance. In New York, Hale led a sniper unit through the ruins, picking off Velithar officers to sow further disarray. In Paris, Cole's demolitions expertise turned the tide as he brought down an entire enemy supply depot. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity fought not just for survival, but for victory. Aboard the stealth ship, Zyral stirred. The once mighty king opened his eyes to find himself bound in a reinforced containment cell, his strength suppressed by human-made restraints. Jones stood outside the cell, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "You," Zyral snarled, his voice venomous. "You think this changes anything? My people will burn your world to ash." Jones leaned closer, his tone calm but laced with steel. "Your people are falling apart without you. We've seen to that." Zyral laughed, a deep, mocking sound. "You think killing me will end this war? You don't understand. I am Velithar. My death will make me a martyr." "We're not going to kill you," Jones replied, his voice deadly quiet. "We're going to use you." Zyral's laughter faltered, his crimson eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" Jones didn't answer immediately. Instead, he tapped the control panel, projecting a holographic feed of Earth's counteroffensive. Human forces were driving the Velithar back, their advance relentless. "Your army is losing," Jones said, "and soon they'll know why. We're broadcasting your capture across every channel we can reach. Your people will see their king brought low, and they'll realize you're not invincible. They'll know you failed." Zyral's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. "You underestimated us," Jones continued. "You thought humanity was weak. But the thing about humans is, we fight hardest when we've got nothing left to lose." The final battle for Earth raged over the ruins of Washington, D.C. The Velithar had rallied their remaining forces for one last attempt to crush the Resistance, throwing everything they had into the fight. Jones joined the front lines, leading a mixed force of soldiers and civilians in a desperate stand. The air was thick with smoke and the deafening roar of battle, but the sight of their commander inspired the Resistance to fight on. "Hold the line!" Jones shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Every second counts." Hale, perched on a ruined tower, provided covering fire, his rifle picking off Velithar troops with unerring accuracy. Beside him, Cole rigged another explosive, his hand steady despite the barrage of incoming fire. "We can't hold this position forever," Hale called out. "We don't need to," Jones replied, firing into the fray. Just long enough. Across the battlefield, Resistance fighters pushed back the Velithar, their determination outweighing the enemy's superior technology. In orbit, the Velithar fleet began to falter. Without Zyral's leadership, their coordination broke down, leaving them vulnerable to hit-and-run tactics by Earth's fledgling space forces. The captured Velithar king had become the weapon humanity needed, a symbol of the Dominion's fallibility. As the final Velithar dreadnought retreated, Jones's comms crackled with a message from Major Cross. "Commander, the fleet's in full retreat. We've won." The battlefield erupted in cheers, but Jones didn't celebrate. He knelt amid the rubble, exhaustion etched into his face. For all their victories, the cost had been staggering. Hale approached, his sniper rifle slung over his shoulder. "We did it, sir. They're running." Jones nodded slowly. "We did. But this isn't the end. They'll regroup. They'll come back. Then we'll be ready," Hale said, his voice firm. Jones looked out over the battlefield at the soldiers and civilians who had given everything for this moment. "We don't just survive," he murmured. "We stand on Valera Prime." The fractured Velithar Dominion teetered on the brink of collapse. Without Xyrol, their once mighty empire crumbled under the weight of rebellion and infighting. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced annihilation and emerged not just alive, but victorious. And as Jones stood beneath the battered sky, he knew one truth above all else. Earth would never bow.